Now, to understand and understand what we're seeing there, you see Passion of Christ, Good Friday, that's where he was killed. And right under it you see 2, 2, 7, 4. The 2 in the middle right there again is 27, which is a 9. You see it's 930. You look at the numbers you're dealing with, and then right below, you see the number 12, 750, that's how much it was. Then you see 666. Now what machine is just going to automatically, at the time of the premiering, we'll start off with 666 at the Passion of the Christ. That's because you're not going to check out anyone having to do with any Redeemer. There's no Redeemer coming, and the only time you're going to see a Redeemer is if they manufacture one for you to see, which is what we're going to talk about right now. Listen to this. Gibson called Mary a tremendous, listen to this. Okay, all right. Gibson says of Mary that she is, and remember, the Jesuit professor, listen to this, in Rome, Atlanta, not in Rome, Atlanta, but in, let me just say this, Mount Mary, or Marymount College, Loyola University at Marymount, the Mount of Mary University, a Jesuit professor named Father Fulco translated the Passion script into the Aramaic that you see there. Gibson called Mary, check this out now, Gibson calls Mary a tremendous co-redemptrix and mediatrix in an interview with Christianity Today magazine. The Christianity Today magazine called this particular article Mel, Mary, and Mother. He goes on to say in the article, listen to what he says. I've been actually amazed at the way I could say the evangelical audience has, hands down, responded to the film more than any other Christian group, even Catholics. He said, this film is so Marian. This film is so Marian. Well, Marian, although related to Mary, relating to the Virgin Mary. Marian is a Catholic terminology dealing with the worship of Mary. The worship of Mary didn't come into play until Ignatius Loyola instituted it as part of the protocols for all of the Catholic Church. Any place you see that the Catholic Church is speaking about making Mary co-redemptress with Jesus, that's the Jesuits. That's why you have to see what is going on. Marian, as you've seen, is as a female. If it's the ordo of the left-hand path, and you deal with the left-hand aspect of God, which is the heart, which is the feminine principle. The female Satan plays the mirror opposite to Mary, both feminine principles vying for the mind of Jesus. The crushing of the head of the serpent. Did you see the movie? Okay, now listen to this. Symbolic. The crushing of the head of the serpent by Jesus' heel is a symbolic gesture of the retardation and destruction of masculine or wisdom principle. Remember, the serpent is the principle of wisdom. It was what freed Adam and Eve from the confines and the parameters of Eden, which is the parameters of perfection. That crushing of the serpent's head, the symbology, is a closing of the circle. The serpent began the emancipation of man in the Garden of Eden. God getting back at the serpent for freeing up man. Watch. The symbolism here is that the serpent got Eve, which is the feminine principle, to awaken her natural instincts to want to procreate, to have babies, to go forward. She offered that particular principle, which was the tempting, the seducing, the fact of her beauty and all of that. That's what the apple was, herself. She offered herself to him, took a bite, and that was the sin. The sin was what? Sexual intercourse. That was using the tree of knowledge of good and evil. because only then would God then descend into the deeper planes in order to be able to know itself by the opposition that it is to itself, understanding how to harmonize itself within the opposition of male and female. Now, again, Jesus' killing of the snake in the Garden of Gethsemane was God getting back at the serpent, the emancipator, the individual conscious mind, and stepping in to gain man's fear and sympathy to gather back the sheep to enter into the corral of ignorance, the new Eden. Know that Eden was the first confines of ignorance, and man was freed from that perfection of ignorance when he was cast out, when he did something that made him a creator. In other words, the creator owned everything at that time. All your territory was mine. But as soon as the dick got hard, as soon as the pussy got wet, as soon as they started at it, they were free of the confines of the perfection. And from that point, they became creators. And they assumed the role of creator. And now they want you back. They're coming back for their shit. Jesus killing the serpent means to kill the wisdom that made you gods. Now you don't have nothing but blind faith. Follow me. I got your redemption. But what is it? Well, you just come and enjoy the mansions of God. These motherfucking evangelists will say, well, what are you going to do in heaven? Well, you know so much about heaven. You know about where we're going. Tell me about heaven. Well, there are places paved with gold. And get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about? And there are some kindergarten-minded assholes who believe they're going to be walking on alabaster streets and the choirs of angels are going to be singing forever. I want them motherfuckers singing all the time. Shut the fuck up. I'm supposed to be going up for peace and quiet. Now they're telling you what heaven is like. I don't want to hear all that shit. Give me what heaven is, because my wisdom factor wants to know what heaven is. Is there such a place? And if you have tangibilized it, you have already destroyed it, because you are limited, motherfucker. You ain't got all the knowledge. How you going to tell me what heaven, this place that you have never been to, exists at? You're getting vicarious information, second-hand and third-hand information about what heaven is. And I'm supposed to believe that? Well, that's what the crushing of the serpent is. Stomp out all wisdom and all knowledge. You just follow my ass. And that's why they got these niggas, 1 million strong black men, black women, worshiping some white devil. Talking about Jesus will lead the way. Talking about, I don't want to talk about what my ancestors did to me. They bonded me to Satan, bonded me, covenanted me to the devil. You imagine that shit? You got to be numbed down and in your last leg if you're going to believe that. And Christianity is about keeping you from true inner knowledge, true understanding of yourself on the occult planes, knowing the satanic part of yourself. They'll teach you what the satanic part of yourself is. That is, stay away from it. They'll tell you, well, that's the devil. A boa. It was a boa constrictor. That the little one that he crushed looked like one of the pythons, one of the constrictors, which is very interesting because the constrictors is essentially what brings you together. Well, the fact that Jesus came out there and the garden, remember the serpent was coming back out to say, listen, I'm going to give you some wisdom, Jesus. You a dumb motherfucker. You know, if you don't do this shit, all you're going to do is start this shit over again. Well, I'm going to come to free my people. I come to get my sheep. Well, you can go. If you're Christian, you want to be a Christian, that means you got to go. Because I know that on the metaphysical level, since there is no damn Jesus Christ, and the only reason Christ exists is because in your mind you believe he exists, when you dead and he ain't there, your ass is grass. You starting around there wondering, where the fuck am I now? I mean, I was a good Christian. I was supposed to be in pearly gates. Where the hell am I? And you know what? There are millions and millions of souls just laying there not knowing what the fuck to do.
And you know, Jesus never told anybody he was a Christian.
But that's what I'm saying. He ain't never told anybody, matter of fact, never existed. In fact, let me show you where he came from since you put that. You see, what's happening is, here's your first symbol. Now, the first thing you got to remember is Simon of Cyrene, remember? They had him with 2 daughters. Remember, they are feminizing the whole Christian game. Simon of Cyrene had 2 sons, but they have him in the movie as having 2 daughters. They have him as a half-white, Hispanic-looking person, but he was a black man. But you see, this is a Masonic symbol.
Yes, sir.
This is a Masonic symbol of initiation that begins with what is known as the cable toe. The cable toe starts, and you notice, I'll show you. Here's another shot of it. Now, notice the cable toe. You see it around the neck first? That's the initiate. When you go into Masonic, the first thing they do is put the cable toe around you. The cable toe around your neck. And let me just give you an idea of what that means real cool. Real cool. Numerous monuments of antiquity attest to the long-established usage of leading captives before their conquerors or judges by means of cords attached to various parts of the body. This was a mark of degradation to the victim and contributed to the exaltation of the victor. Assyrian, Babylonian, Egyptian, and other sculptors of great age exhibited long defilers of prisoners led by in triumph, blah, blah, blah. In medieval pages down here, the Stations of the Cross. The Stations of the Cross. Now, I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that that's what this movie was. Any Catholics in the house? Ex-Catholics? Catholics? Remember those times, oh my God, long, laborious Stations of the Cross, standing before them damn pictures and listening to them sing that same shit. I used to go, all right, kill the motherfucker, hurry up! And it was long, took about 2.5 hours to finish that shit. He had to stand in front of 14 pictures and pray. It was sick. That was torture. That was the passion. The people sitting there. Now, in medieval paintings of the Stations of the Cross, which represents the various episodes in the final scenes of the Gospels, particular stress seems to be laid upon the cord by which Jesus is led to execution, and a curious but persistent difference is often found in connection with the 3 falls on the way to Calvary. The 3 falls are essentially the 3 sessions, the 3 ways that the cord is represented. The 3 ways. He starts from the audience, the governor, he's led by a cord around his neck. You saw the Passion, they had the cord around his neck first. Then, as you look at him, as he's going down to his flagellation, his final scenes, he ends up around his waist. Now here's pictures depicting that. This is a picture, essentially a Masonic picture, where you see the initiation of the Christ. Around his head are 33 stars. There are 33 people in here. And the man leading him, if you notice, has an afro. And they know, and have always known, that the black man is where they got most of their information, all their information was, and it is the black man that is initiating him into his higher knowledge. Always. He knows that. That's why he has no culture. He has nothing. He knows that everything he is based upon that when he deals in the higher realms. So you see, it starts at his neck, and then as the pictures go on, you see it end up around his waist. And then by the time he reaches the cross, it's around his feet. So you're watching, essentially, a ritual of initiation. And you're watching the black man pulling this man to his initiation, who is being initiated.
Got a whip too.
Crucifixion, yeah. That's the flail. That's the part of the crook and the flail when they were holding it. Well, that's the flail. But understand that the crucifixion, as you're looking at the science of what the crucifixion is about, is the initiation, and that the cross you're bearing is actually the crossing, and you see where the cross is laid? And remember, all pictures are for a reason. Notice what his head is turned, and it's touching the back. What he is doing is, he is depicting a sign of where the crucifixion takes place, on the mounds where it's called Calvary. Calvary is the skull. Now, the crucifixion or crucifixion does not mean to kill. In the higher esoteric knowledge, occult knowledge, crucifixion means to increase. So when the Ida and the Pingala, when you look at these symbols, first and foremost, let me just show you that the symbol of the crucifixion first and foremost, let me just give you this. Here's where the cord came from. The cord essentially is the DNA. The cord is a completely ceremonial symbol. It is one of the oldest known and was the particular badge of the initiate into the mysteries of the Brahmins. The manufacture of such cords with reference to the number and color of threads entering into their composition was the subject of sacred detail to come directly to the fact that the thrice-turned cable tow or cord of 3 loops was one of the best known of the ancient Hermetic emblems. In the Egyptian hieroglyphic system, it was the equivalent of the Hebrew letter shet or ka, having the numerical value of 8 and the initial of the Kemetic name, commonly known from the Greek rendition as Horus or Heru. And this is who Heru was. Heru was the crucified Savior. Understanding that they're just playing it off instead with a white man's face. Briefly, the word cha is a transposition of the Sanskrit resh, meaning light. The ancient sacred writings of the East reveal the fact that light was considered the original primordial material. So that when God said, "Let there be light," he was not merely illuminating that which had already been created, but was in fact the first creative act of the architect, the great architect. So understand that we dealt with the 47 problems when we did in Tetragrammaton Part 2. We dealt with the 47th problem. That's a little bit, real high metaphysics. If you want to get that, you can call me and I'll let you know. So just to let you know that the symbol is not new. This was Lord Krishna. He was first depicted as such. The Lord Krishna. Now, underneath here, there's some words that I pointed out for you. Krishna, whose history is closely resembled our Lord's, was also like him in being crucified. Now, he gives you some names. This is from Bible Myths by Duane, the book. The evangelists related that when Jesus was crucified, 2 other malefactors were crucified with him, one of whom, through his favor, went to heaven. One of the malefactors reviled him, out of the other saying to Jesus, "Lord, remember me when you come into thy kingdom." And Jesus said unto him, "Verily I say unto thee, this day shall you be with me in paradise, according to the Vishnu Purana." This is where they got it from. The hunter who shot the arrow at Krishna afterwards said unto him, "Have pity upon me, who am consumed by my crime, for thou art able to consume me." Krishna said, "Fear not in the least. Go, hunter, through thy favor, and be with me in the abode of the gods." That's exactly where they got the information from. As soon as he had spoken it, the celestial car appeared. The hunter, ascending on it, forthwith went into heaven. That's where they got that from. So here we have the idea of the crucifixion between the 2 thieves, fighting back and forth. And again, you see at the bottom, the symbol of the skull, where actually on earth is death, and up there is resurrection and life. So you're looking at the 2 skulls. But what you're not looking at, what they're not showing you by this picture is that the 2 thieves actually represent 2 aspects in your body. One called, the 2 thieves are actually the Ida and the Pingala. The Ida is feminine, negative, and yin, the left nostril. The Pingala is right, masculine, positive, yang. So when you wake up in the morning and you're breathing, and you feel air going into only one side of your nose, no, it's either the Ida or the Pingala that's getting more energy. And it's because your body is trying to seek equilibrium by opening up the male side or the female side to let in more air. Usually, if it's more female, that means your body is trying to cool itself down. And that sometimes when you wake up and you feel extra tired, notice that your left nostril is one that's open rather than the actual right one. Notice that when you wake up and your right nostril is wide open and you're taking in the air, you feel vibrant, you're up, you're energized. Okay? So the Ida and the Pingala actually snake up the side or the back of the spine along the spinal cord, and that is the electromagnetic transformers of the fluid that runs up this craniosacral fluid. It's the energy processor. In other words, it balances the energy of the fluid, and it gives specific information to the tides of the cerebrospinal fluid. And as whatever is necessary, the higher self, the higher being, the higher entity that is over the top of your head, the one that is your overself, knows what's going on the physical realm because it is the template that you cannot see that feeds the physical self. When certain things that you don't know because it lives in the event or based upon the breath you're taking, it then sends down signals through the Pingala, which then causes the tides of the thing to flow over certain parts of your body or certain parts of the skull and certain parts of the arms and legs and the nervous system in order to get you prepared. That's why sometimes if you are open and you're cleansed and you're open, you can predict certain things happening. Things happen to say, well, like Queen says in her video, which I recommend that you get. She has her video out called the Metaphysics of Disease. And when you get premonitions, it's basically the overself translating what is in time, out of time, into time. But because you are not sensitized by your overself and with your overself, because you're too tuned into Jesus, what happens is you don't sense or see or feel that signal as information that you should be acting upon. So what happens is the transformers, the Ida and the Pingala, are trying to give you information inside of that cerebrospinal fluid to conduct it to all of the cells in your body to get you to act on your intuition and instinct, because your intuition and instinct is what gives you the signals and information to keep you in equilibrium with the cosmos.